Hello, and welcome to the conversation. I am your host, Andrea B. Flintroy. I want to say thank you for being here with me tonight. To the conversation community, hello and welcome. And if this is your first time tuning in to the conversation, I want to say welcome. And now you can join the conversation community by three ways. And yes, it's like the church. You know how you have to join the church by three ways. So yeah, you can join the conversation community by three ways. And it's very simple, very easy. Hey, like it, share us, make a comment. One thing about the conversation, what we do every Wednesday is that we engage. So we like to see the engagement. We like to see the conversation, not only with myself and my guests, but also with the conversation community. So I love you, conversation community, and welcome back. So, but one thing you know about me and the conversation is I always bring you, and you can always guarantee that I am going to bring you a guest, someone who is going to be real, who is going to be relatable, and who is definitely going to be relevant. So, hey, we always like to have real conversations on the conversation as we have real discussion. So, don't let me delay any more time. I want to welcome my guest to the conversation, Miss Jasmine Dean.
Hello, everybody. Hello.
Yeah, so we have Miss Jasmine Dean with us on this evening. And Jasmine comes to share her story. She comes to share about her journey. She wants to share about her process that she went through to get to where she is. And she's talking about that the steps that she took for self-acceptance. And one thing we know about self-acceptance is sometimes it's very hard for us to accept who we are. I'm going to say it again. It is hard for us to accept who we are because we always are allowing, not necessarily even allowing, but with society, our family, our friends, professional environment, we have placed on this mask, or we have a representative that shows up. And sometimes it's hard that when we start looking or rediscovering our identity, we have to accept the things that we find. Oh, Jasmine shaking her head, y'all. Then I got a good one. So yeah, so we're trying to accept, who we are as we're digging through, trying to find who our true selves are. So without any further ado, I just want Jasmine to come and tell the conversation community a little bit about yourself, Jasmine.
All right. Well, my name is Jasmine Dean. I am from Colfax, Louisiana. Somewhere most people have not heard of, but we still on the map.
No, nothing about it.
That's definitely fine, but it's not far from Alexandria and Pineville, Louisiana, a little bit further down south. I went to Grambling State University. Let me correct it, the Grambling State University, because you have to put emphasis on that.
Yeah, for those Graham fans, what is that? Exit 81. Y'all go ahead and show y'all love up in the chat.
Look, we're proud. You have to be. But I went there. I went for my bachelor's and my master's in social work. And I stayed after I actually found more in my career. I started working in the Monroe region. And so I actually stayed in Ruston because I had to keep it small, but not too big. Okay. So it's like, yeah, it's not as small as Colfax, but it's small enough for me. And so just a little bit about that. I actually stayed in the area. I have a lot of family that's still in Colfax. I have my dad that stays in Georgia, and I have some people in Texas. So I'm right smack dab in the middle.
Okay.
And so people like to come here and they come visit me. And that's because they know I'm either going to cook them a meal or we're going to have a good time. And that's what I enjoy doing. I love to travel. Any of my friends will tell you I am always somewhere and somewhere other than at home. So that's my favorite thing to do is to travel. And, that gets you away from the things that you have going on. But that's pretty much the gist about myself, what I love to do, and, just my passion and my career.
Okay, awesome. Awesome. That is so wonderful. So I heard you say that you like to cook, and it also just helps you to get away from things that's going on. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of glad that you went up into that, because we definitely about to just go ahead and dive right on in.
Oh yeah,
And
definitely.
yes, now you know how we're about to do it. Like, okay, for y'all, me and Jasmine, we have had our conversations, and every time we talk, we always go straight in. And so, of course, that's what we're gonna give y'all tonight. Just a little bit about how our conversations are when we go straight in. And so, Jasmine, just kind of going straight in with it. What are some of the things that you have to get away from sometimes?
I would say definitely everything. Everything
Mm-hmm.
is here. As in saying my career is here, my family is here, my loved ones are here,
Mm-hmm.
and my trauma is here. Anything
Mm-hmm.
good and bad is exactly where I am. And
Okay.
so even while you say, hey, I have that downtime and you're at home,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes you're still in the place where certain events occurred that link to that trauma that you have. So when I say I love to travel and get away, I actually mean from the place that things occur for me, because that's a big thing. People don't realize they're still steadfast right in where their trauma actually occurred at. And so that's
Mm-hmm.
why I'm big on traveling and getting away from those things, because not only do I need to be physically in a different place, once I'm somewhere physically, for me, that lets my mind flow to wherever I am and enjoy that moment wherever I am. And so that's why I'm so big on actually getting away, not only physically, but if you can't get away physically, you can find ways to cope and you can get your mind elsewhere. So
Yeah.
it's not just about that physical part. That's something I love to do, but you
Mm-hmm.
just have to get in a different headspace from the things that you have going on sometimes.
Yeah. Okay, that's good. That's good. So you said that you really want to get away from that place because you have that trauma, and you
Hmm.
also have peace within the same environment.
Right.
So yeah, so talk to us about some of the trauma, or some of the things that you've had to deal with just within your life.
Whew. That's a long list. We can start from the bottom, but
All right
I'm
now.
just like anybody. I have childhood trauma,
Okay.
and when people think of trauma, they just think of this disastrous thing that happened to someone, and it's not always that far
Hmm.
down the line. Trauma can be anything that you've experienced. Trauma
Hmm.
can be something that happened to somebody else that you had to actually deal with at the same time. So I had a lot of childhood trauma just from where I actually grew up, um just growing up in a single parent household, and then having
Hmm.
to find myself outside of that, being black, being a woman, being a black woman.
Okay
um
now.
there's trauma that I've experienced with that. Being a black woman in my career, everything kind
Mm.
of just gradually stepped up to different things that I've actually experienced.
Mhm.
And so moving from my hometown was getting away from that trauma and finding a different identity than who I was there. It was time to be a different
Mm.
version of me. And so when
Okay.
I actually got here, this is my growing phase. So I feel like I'm still here because I'm growing. And I feel like I'll move away from this growing phase and I'll get to the I've grown phase. And
Uh-huh.
you never do actually stop growing, but this has been the area that I've been in, that I've experienced trauma in all those different areas that I told you guys about. But at the same time, it's like I have to detach from that. And so I'll get to a
Mm.
different phase, because we all go through different phases in our life. So childhood trauma, career trauma, relationship trauma, in all relationships, friendships, significant others. So when I say trauma, I mean I feel like I've had a dose of it all.
Oh, wow. Okay, so you said you feel like you've had a dose of it all. And I know you gave a great definition of trauma. And for the community, if you didn't hear her when she said it, she said trauma is not necessarily something that happened to you like just major, but trauma is anything that can happen to you that really makes you uncomfortable.
Hmm.
That is a traumatic experience.
Right.
Anything that makes you feel uncomfortable to where it has literally just knocked you off your seesaw, off your horse, or whatever, that's what trauma is. And I just wanted to repeat that for the community, because as you stated before, a lot of people, when they hear the word trauma, they just automatically think it has to be some major disaster
Hmm.
that occurred. and when it's not necessarily that.
And
But
that situation could have been a disaster for you,
mhm.
like, oh, it's not what other people see through their lens. It's how you actually perceive it. It's what you actually feel that your trauma is. And you don't ever let anybody undermine that, because if it hurts you, it hurts you, And so that's trauma.
Yeah,
So you might not feel like my pain is relevant, but it's relevant to me. It's big enough for me. So, so for me, it was traumatic. And
yeah,
so you never undermines people's feelings and their emotions attached to whatever situation they had going on.
yeah, yeah. Girl, you better talk about that trauma. You better talk about that trauma. I don't know why you stopped, girl. You was preaching on that trauma, girl. You better
It
talk
hit
about
different
it.
when you feel it,
Yeah,
when you've
girl, when
actually
you
been
feel
through
it, just keep
it.
going in. Just keep going in. But at the, I like how you explained that though, and you are so right. Like you said, as long as it was traumatic to you, and
Mhm.
that's the main thing, because nobody can dictate your feeling.
That's right.
Only you know how you felt. And
Exactly.
so if you felt like it was something that, like I said, made you uncomfortable, knock you off your horse, or that was just traumatic to you because you know you had that feeling.
Hmm.
Somebody else dictate your feeling, somebody else telling you your feeling. Jasmine, y'all, if y'all are just now tuning in, Jasmine Dean is on here preaching about trauma and experiences and feelings. I just want to let y'all know about this. But okay, Jasmine, so we're talking about different traumas that people go through and their experiences. Can you give us a little bit about your experiences that you went through, which was traumatic for you?
Yes. My biggest one, and most people that might have tuned in or that know me, my biggest one was basically I had cancer, and that
Mm-hmm.
was ovarian cancer.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, when you hear cancer, most people think, oh, trauma automatically. But
Mm-hmm.
honestly, it wasn't even the health part that was traumatic for me. It was more of seeing a different person
Mm-hmm.
than I've ever seen in the mirror. It was more of trying to find a different way to actually be happy when you have something going on that's, changing you every single day. So
Mm-hmm.
that was my biggest traumatic experience. And then when you think about it, it's one of those things where people don't realize you can have trauma that's still ongoing, because you have to realize that's something that you never completely get away from. It actually puts it in your mind frame of, okay, what about reoccurrence? What about my children? What about my family? How will it actually affect other people? So there's always something that you try not to worry about, but it's traumatic because it sticks with you.
Yeah.
And as much as you want to downplay it, the things that you actually experience become a part of you. You are the person
Mm-hmm.
that you are because of your experience that shaped you. And so trauma kind of, just steps on side of you. It's all about your perspective and how you actually deal with it that makes a
Okay.
difference. And I think that was the biggest thing about my traumatic experiences, that I realized I cannot change my situation. So I'm gonna have to
Uh-huh.
change my perspective. Because if
Come
I
on
don't,
now.
because if I don't do that, then I'm gonna be down in the rut for a long time.
Yeah. Yeah. So Tim, how did you change your perspective? Like just give us a little bit of your process of the action steps that you took to change your perspective to help you through your process of your ovarian cancer.
So first things first, the
Mm-hmm.
biggest thing is I didn't lie to myself. I kept it real. Like when it came to it, and when I say I kept it real, I meant down to, okay, this is the statistic. This is the worst possible outcome.
Mm-hmm.
This is what could possibly happen. Like, let me keep it real with myself. I'm not going to sugarcoat with myself just like I don't do with my friends and family. We usually keep it real with other people, and we
Mm-hmm.
forget we got to keep it real with ourselves too. So that was the biggest thing, is that I kept it real with myself. And then after I kept it real with myself, I was like, okay, well, you in this situation.
Mm-hmm.
So what we going to do now?
Okay.
And I made a contract with myself. I mean, yes, like a legal binding contract. I made a contract with myself
Girl, talk about this
that
contract.
and I wrote it down. Like I made it real, just as much as
Mm-hmm.
when you sign your lease, they make it real, just as much as anything legal, they make it real. Like I bind it in a contract with myself. I say, look, this is what you're gonna do. You're gonna keep it real with yourself regardless, no matter how bad it gets. And
Mm-hmm.
throughout everything, you're gonna love and nurture yourself. You're gonna take care of you. And
Mm-hmm.
you know what? If things do not go the way that you want them to, You still gonna keep it real, and you still gonna love yourself. That was the only stipulations of my contract. Is
Yeah.
that I never lied to myself to make myself feel better, and then no matter how it began to look, that I love myself regardless, and I didn't downplay myself. So once I made that contract with myself, I was like, okay, let me go ahead, list it out. How is it?
Yeah.
And so I really made a list. Like, these are the things that I'm in tune with. These are the things I have to improve, or I can improve. Like, the biggest thing is people tell you, hey, okay, you need to recognize what's going on. So I was very self-aware. So once I kept it real with myself, I became aware of everything that was going on.
Yeah.
Because I didn't leave, any loose ends. I kind of made it clear to myself. And after I did that, I was like, what can I do about it? Like, what is actually in my power to change?
Okay.
If I can do something about it, this is what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
And if I can't do something about it, this is what I'm going to do. And let me tell you the difference. When I said I either was in tune with myself, I improved myself. If I said, hey, you know what? I don't like how I look today.
Yeah.
I could do something about that. You know what I'm saying? Like, there was something I could do about that. And if it was really that I feel sick today and there was nothing that I could take, I say, you know what, but you'll look better tomorrow. You'll feel better tomorrow. I affirmed myself. So when I wasn't in tune and I couldn't improve, it was like, I'm going to affirm it.
Yeah.
Like, I am better. So the next day, it was like, okay, we're going to do it again.
Yeah.
Like, in what ways can you improve? And in what ways are you in tune with yourself? Because you have to find balance. I know I done told you that in all of our sessions that we've talked. Because the balance there was, we always can find the negative in the situation. That's obvious. Like, that's what you're going through. You know what I'm saying? So you can find what's wrong, find what's right. Like, balance some things out. And if you can't balance them out, you better find it. So just make you a list of everything that you actually see that's good and great still. Because the biggest thing that I feel like got me through my period was the fact that I knew what was still good. And even if you go and you look at studies and different medical studies, they will actually tell you will have an improved outcome if your mindset is such. Like, if you have a strong mindset, if you even think that you're going to get better, most people that think things are going to get better, they actually have a better outcome than other people. And that's proven just for me, but it's statistically proven. So you gotta, like I said, if you cannot change that situation, you change your perspective. You affirm yourself about where you're going to be, how it's going to go, and you say, "I am better." Like, you don't leave any area for doubt. That's something we love to be very hopeful, but it's like, no, I am better. I will be better. There's no room for anything negative happening. You don't worry about the negative happening until it happens.
Yeah.
And I can keep going, but
I want you to keep going. Look, okay, again. So, conversation community. I don't know if you are just now tuning in. Miss Jasmine Dean is on here preaching. She is on here preaching. She has taught us and educated us about trauma. She has educated us about changing our perspective. And she also talked about having a personal contract with herself. Like, girl, just keep going. Like, she is blessing me. I don't know if she is blessing y'all with her words. Let me see let me drop some nuggets. Whatever it is that Jasmine has said and it resonated with you. Let me see you drop some of her nuggets. Let me see what gems did you see that she's dropping, because she is on here preaching. And if this is not hitting home for you or somewhere, look, share somebody else's name in the comment. Tell them they need to get on here, because this is a real conversation. And she's talking about the steps that she took for her self-acceptance. So she's talking about the experiences that she had, that she went through, and what she had to do. So yeah, y'all. Tag somebody else in, share the link, let them know that Jasmine is on here and she's speaking the real truth today. All right. Okay. So Yes. So you're talking about the steps that you took, and you say that you did a personal contract for yourself, which I love that. That when you said that, it was like, oh my goodness, it so resonated with me. And then the changing of your perspective, what you had to do, and like you were saying, you have to think good for the good to be the outcome. So it's like
Exactly.
we have to, what is it? Gratitude. We have to be grateful and show gratitude in our situation, even if it looks a mess.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like one of my favorite quotes, I had a friend call me the other day and she was like, okay, I got a situation. I'm like, I'm listening.
Mm-hmm.
And the main thing I told her was speak what you seek until you see what you said. And she was like, oh,
Say
okay.
it again, Miss Jasmine. Say it again.
Speak what you seek until you see what you said.
That's
Because
good.
you write your plans, you make them plain, you make them specific as possible. Like this is what I want. I
Mm-hmm.
said I want better health.
Mm-hmm.
And I want it soon.
Yeah.
You know, like you can be that specific about it. And when it actually comes, now this is the biggest thing with us. I mean, all of us. It's
Come
like
on.
once we do become self-aware,
Mm-hmm.
then it's like we don't want to adjust. It's like, okay, we aware, but we ain't making no adjustments. Like we see what the problem is. We know what it is.
Yeah.
But we don't want to do what we
What is
realize we need to do about it. Not even the smallest
mm-hmm.
thing. Because you know what? We have this fear that what if it doesn't work out when I do it? That's one of the
Yeah.
biggest things is that we're just scared, you know. And that was one of the biggest things even in my journey. It was like I got to a point where I told my friends and family, I said, look, this time around, I said, I'm not
Mm-hmm.
doing chemo. And you know, everybody, ooh, wait, what? That's the only thing we know. And it was like, that's what you know. We're gonna find something different.
Come on
Found different
now.
because we spoke that we're going to find different. And
Come
then
on
once we
now.
found different, that what we had to do then was say, you know what, this is going to work.
Yes.
It's gonna work. Like, forget the statistics on this one. This one is going to work.
Yeah.
And so I had to make some adjustments. And when I say some adjustments, I made some real adjustments because I like to eat certain things. I like to do certain things. You know, my lifestyle had to change because I wanted myself to be in a different position than what I was. Whether or not I felt like I
Mm.
got myself there, or life had thrown me a bad apple, I was there. I was in that
Yeah.
position. And if there was something I could do about it, then that's what I had to do.
Yeah.
And so I started making those adjustments after. And so that's kind of what we talked about is people see the journey and they see the end result. They see you like, oh, Jasmine looking like she doing good.
Uh-huh.
It's like,
Uh-huh.
yeah, I'm doing good now. But the road there was bumpy. It was ugly. Real
Mm.
ugly. You
Talk
know,
about it.
and that's the part that people don't share. People like
Mm-hmm.
to, oh, they like you to see their new car, but they ain't about to talk about how many times they had to apply for their loan or the extra income that they had to actually get, or who they asked to co-sign, or how many different places that they went to, but you see
You
the
better
car.
talk about it. You better talk about it.
You
Yes.
know? So it's like, yeah, we gonna keep it real. Say, you know what, this was a little difficult, but I'm
Mm-hmm.
here. Like that doesn't take away from the fact that you made it to where you are. And I think people realize, like, hey, this is where I'm at, and I want people to see me in this lens.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm one of those people who's like, yeah, I want you to see me now, but you're gonna see everything that made me who I am. So
Mm.
the journey that people often hear me talk about is like, if you want to see the ugly parts, if you want to hear about them, I got to a point where it's like I'm not hiding that part of myself because
Yeah.
I wouldn't be who I am. So I had to accept a lot of things about me. So that self-acceptance came from like being aware.
Mm-hmm.
It came from those adjustments. It
Mm-hmm.
came from keeping it real with myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to do all that until I got to a point where I said, you know what, this is you.
Yeah.
And you
Yeah.
pretty dope. You know, like you dope, you know,
Yeah.
like you bomb for going through that. Like I had days where it's like, look, I ain't feeling it, but what you about to do is say, I am strong.
Mm-hmm.
Like I am powerful. I am going to make it through this. I am going to see the next day. Like it was that deep. You know, people like to say, oh, it's not that deep. It is.
Mm-hmm.
It really
Right.
does get that deep because there's a reason you are the version of yourself that you are right now. And you're not letting anybody undermine that. All those experiences, that bad trauma that you had, all those good things, like they
Yeah.
made you know? And so I just try not to shy away from that part. All those things, that bad thing that everybody hears cancer and they're like, that's horrible. It made me. And I'm not
Yeah.
going to detach from that. So when somebody, I used to get mad when it's like, oh, that's that girl that had cancer. Yeah, that's me.
What you say? Come on now. What you
That's
say?
me. You right.
That's me.
Look at me. That's me.
Ooh.
And so, like I had to start to be proud of those things that shaped me, because life is going to
Mm.
put you on an upward road. It's going to throw you on every roller coaster that you can. So if it's going to break you down, why you got to do it to yourself?
Yeah. Yeah. I like that. I like that. I like that. Like this is so real. This is real. Like you said, being proud of those situations or those things, because they're going to shape you. They're
Mhm.
going to shape you to be who you are. And at the end of the day, you want to be proud of who you are and to
Exactly.
accept who you are. Because, and if it's anything about you that you want to change, you have the power, you have the authority to change it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
And
girl.
you literally have to go through to get through. Like, well, what you gonna do? Stop in the middle? And see, that's people's problem. They're like, it's real tough. I'm gonna just give up. You're gonna be stuck right there. You're not gonna move back. You're not gonna move forward. You're gonna be stuck right in that situation because you just giving up. So
Mhm.
the most thing that I could tell people is, look, if you're going through it, you're gonna have to keep pushing through till you get to the end of it. Because you don't want to be stuck there if you don't like it that bad. If it feel like hell, why you gonna stop there? Like, why you gonna, who would stop in the middle of hell and
Yeah.
say, yeah, I'm gonna just give up and I'm gonna stay right here? Who gonna stop there? If you got somewhere you want to go, you gonna have to keep pushing. And as
Yeah.
bad as it may get, if you don't want to stay stuck in that situation, you're gonna have to keep it real with yourself. You're gonna have to
Mm.
be aware of where you at, and you're gonna have to make
Mm.
some adjustments.
Come on. Come on. Girl, that is good. Like y'all, she dropping it. She is dropping it. She is dropping it. And that's so good. And I just want to say thank you just for even sharing, your story and really giving them everything about it. So
Yeah.
even in that, doesn't it take the courage to do that as you was going through your experience of ovarian cancer? Like, where did you find all that strength and that encouragement at?
Not only did I have to dig deep, I had to dig
Mm.
real deep within myself, but I'm not gonna undermine the fact that I had to look outward for support.
Come
I had
on.
people in my life, and I was always, and I really tell people, you usually don't see why you went through something till you actually get through it, because people always tell you everything happens for a reason, and you stuck in that situation, and you're like, I don't know what that reason is, but okay.
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
Like, it changed me as a person, because I'm very independent. My mom
Mhm.
raised me to be that way. And so I was like, I'm going to deal with this myself, and I'm going to
Mhm.
make it happen. And while I could make it happen, there was times where I needed something other than me. And whether that was something spiritual, whether that was a therapist because I needed some additional emotional support,
Mhm.
whether that was my friends and my family because I needed my support system, whether
Mhm.
I needed a distraction to keep me away from it. So whether that was going to the movies or how I fell in love with traveling, I had
Mhm.
to find things that I loved more than how I looked and what I was going through. Because the
Mhm.
biggest thing that I feel like I struggled with during my experience was the fact that I looked completely different. And so I had to find beauty in a whole different place. So I had to change my perspective, and I had to change it quick because my situation, like I told you, was not changing no time soon.
Yeah.
So it was like, you know what, you still independent and you could be independent and need help.
Mm.
I had to change that perspective real quick.
That's the truth. That's the
I
truth.
was like, you can be beautiful and it don't have nothing to do with how you look right now. Like the beauty is in your voice, your story, what you're going through. The beauty is within you. Like,
Mm.
so when I said change their perspective, like everything that I knew myself to be, it wasn't that I couldn't be those things. I
Yeah.
had to be better. I had to change my value of those things. And then sometimes I had to look outside the box and say, look, what you want me to see out of this situation? Because I'm obviously missing
Yeah.
it. And
All
so
right now.
I just had to change like my support. I had to change my surroundings. I had to change myself. So I was put in a situation to where I couldn't be the person that I was known to be to myself.
Mhm.
And that was the hardest part. Like, it's like
Yeah.
I had to make the adjustments, because if not, then I wasn't going to see the beauty in myself. I wasn't
Mhm.
going to get through my situation, because how I felt about my outcome, like me actually feeling down about my outcome, that was not going to change how bad it could be.
Mm.
And so I had to push through.
Yeah. Yeah.
And not push as in just pray until something happens. Like, I literally had to take action.
Come on now. Yeah. Yeah. I you know what? You're so right when you said that. Like, you literally, you have to take action. So it's like, if you're looking for, if you want the changes to happen, I'm not even gonna say if you're looking for it, because sometimes we don't even really look for it. But if
Mm-hmm.
you want the change to happen, you have to take action. We can't just sit still talking about some, oh, I'm just waiting to see what's gonna happen. No, ain't nothing gonna happen with you just sitting still.
Yeah, you're going to
But
stay stuck
you,
right there.
come on now. And you're right. Like, you're just going to stay stuck in that same place that you're in, and still stuck with that same mentality that
Mm-hmm.
you had, that scarcity mentality.
Mm-hmm. And I
Girl.
find that people that live in that fear, they kind of wonder why things keep happening to them in the same way. And it's because
Mhm.
you didn't learn your lesson the last time. Like, you didn't learn, let's be honest, you didn't learn your lesson the last time. You was in the same situation and you did the same exact thing thinking you was going to get different results, and you're not. If you
Mhm.
want different results, you have to do something different.
Yeah.
And so
Oh.
we have to change. We have to adapt. Like, the world constantly does that around us. So what makes us think that we're any different as people? That we don't have to adjust, that we don't have to adapt to things, that we don't have to change.
Yes, you are so right. You're so right. Oh my goodness, girl. Girl. Yes, 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 yes. So, okay, so I know we're talking about your experience, with ovarian cancer, and I know that you've had some other experiences.
Mhm.
So, if you don't mind sharing with the community some of the other experiences that you had to that you've come through, let's say like that you've come through.
One of the biggest things that I feel like shaped me is I was raised primarily by my mother
Hmm.
until kind of like my dad was present, let's be clear, but the relationship that I felt like I actually wanted there with him was not there.
Okay.
And so I had this mindset, this perspective that I'm a child. I don't have to do anything about it. He's
Hmm.
going to reach out to me. And I was like, well, I'm still
Mm.
doing the same thing and it's not happening. So I had to make that change. I reached out myself. I was like, look, this is what you want. And you
Hmm.
know what? It could go wrong. Like, it could not go well. Y'all could not be compatible as you thought y'all were. You know, like, he could want nothing to do with you right now.
Uh-huh.
And the bad thing is, I had to suffer a loss of my parent to say I actually want a father figure there. And sometimes it shouldn't get to that point to where you have to lose something to actually see things clearly. But sometimes you do. Sometimes you have to suffer into a certain extent to where you're like, I need to change something. And that was a big
Mm.
eye opener for me. It was like, okay, I want something different. And
Yeah.
so I reached out. And that was to the point where it was like at my college graduation. And then after that, my brother had tried to reach out plenty of times. And he was like, well, I'm doing it. I had the same perspective as you, and I'm growing and we doing very well. And it was like, that's y'all. But I realized, even in my relationships, in the friendships that I had, it was something that I was longing for. And if I did not take that action, I would have never known how it was
Mhm.
going to go. So, from just that experience of going up until that point and realizing that I wanted something different, and it didn't matter what my mother wanted for me, it didn't matter
Mhm.
what my friends wanted from me, it didn't matter that my family wanted something different from me. I wanted that.
Yeah.
And I felt like, it's been traumatic to experience some things and not have that.
Yeah.
So I saw it. I reached
Mhm.
out and I was like, hey, My graduation is this day. And then after that, I'm coming to visit.
All
Like,
right
I'm
now.
staying. And when I say, I was like, you know what? I'm just like this dude. And one of the best things that I could have done that shaped my life,
Yeah.
because I was putting myself in a situation that I didn't have to be in. You got people that, don't have that. And I put myself in that situation because of my perspective on life. From, oh, this is what people had said in the past.
Mm.
And it
Yeah.
was like, if they said it, it had to be true. And it's like, I'm grown now. You could find out for yourself. Find out for yourself. You experiencing everything else in life for yourself. Find out for yourself.
Yeah.
So I had to do away with my excuses for my behavior, my excuses for why he was acting the way he was. And if it didn't go well, because one of the biggest things that was stopping me was fear. Like, what if we wasn't compatible?
Yeah.
I had to do away with that. Look, if it go wrong, it go wrong.
Mm-hmm. You're right. You're right. Oh, wow. Okay. So out of that, what did you gain? Like what did you learn from that? And then what did you gain from that experience? From
I
either one of the
learned
experiences, actually.
those are, I guess I gave that example because my first experience, it was a situation that I didn't feel like I asked to be in.
Mm.
And the second situation was one I had control to actually change completely. I didn't even have to be in that situation.
Yeah.
And so I had to realize the difference between situations that you actually can do something about and situations that you have to adjust to. I had to realize both of them you can make changes, and some of them are going to be more significant than the other. And what I try to gain from all my experiences is, what can I learn from this situation? How can it shape me to be a better person?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what did I realize about myself that I didn't quite like?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, what do I want to do different to be a better version of myself?
Yeah.
And not only that, it was the biggest thing is when I became aware of what I was going through. Like, I accepted that. I was like, okay, you are Jasmine and you have cancer. You are Jasmine and you have a dad there. Like,
Yeah.
like what you about to do?
Yeah.
And so I realized that I did have power. Like, sometimes we seem hopeless and powerless, and we don't realize because something is so big and grand, and we just looking at the symptoms of things, like these little bitty pieces, and there's a root cause behind everything.
Mm-hmm.
Like, whether we can find it or not, there's a root cause behind everything. And it was like, why are you really not addressing this situation? Because you scared.
Right now.
Like, why are you really not going to try this alternative method? Because it's scary. And
Mm.
it's like, okay, that's all we got. We're gonna have to do something different.
Yeah.
And so I did. And like, I've had experiences in my life that are even smaller than that, even from the, oh, I want different friendships. I want different relationships. Well, why don't you have them?
Mm.
And that's when I told you earlier, I was like, it is that deep.
Yeah.
So, for example, like, why do you not have these relationships that you want? Because some relationships, you view them as competitive in nature. Like, everybody couldn't have it.
Uh-huh.
And why do you not have this relationship? Because blood might not be thicker than water. You might have to change who you actually trying to have these relationships and spend your time on.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to break down these issues. Even I realized as myself, something I had to learn to accept about myself is, I was like, you know what? Sometimes you give other people too much grace. Sometimes you don't have the right boundaries. And so these are the small things that were experiences that I've had. And it was like, why do you do that?
Mm-hmm.
Because you fear that you're going to lose their relationship, because you don't value yourself enough. Because of a spiritual reason, we have to forgive and still be in a relationship with that person.
Mm-hmm.
We don't want to depart from the way that things have always been done. We don't want to be seen as somebody that's doing things differently.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I have an issue that I see about myself, I've learned, look, I got to break this down.
Come on now. Yeah.
I even asked a friend today. I was like, tell me something about me that, that you dislike. I ain't going to jump down your throat. And they were like, you're not very patient. And I was like, you're right. I tell people all the time that, that is something. And so I was like, you know what? Okay, I'm about to break it down for myself because that's just a symptom of the root cause of everything. Why am I not that patient? I'm
Yeah.
not that patient because I feel like I want to be in control. I come from a time of when I grew up to where it was like, you can't have that. Now we don't have it to have that. And so I always wanted to put myself in a position to do something about something. And sometimes, that required me to be still.
Okay.
So my patience was from not knowing when to be still and when to take action. And so
Oh.
all these things that I realized that I kind of felt was an issue with myself, I'm like, I got to break it down. Like, I got to see why I am the way I am. And not to use that excuse why I'm just the way I am,
Yeah.
but so I can make myself aware so I can make some adjustments. We
Yeah.
get stuck in that phase. We start saying, well, I am the way I am because so-and-so did this to me back in the gap, or somebody hurt me when I was 7, or, we give ourselves excuses. But once you give yourself that reason for doing what you're doing, what you going to do about it?
Ooh.
And we stop in hell. We stay right there because it ain't really working for us. We don't want to keep pushing though. We're gonna stay stuck right there with those issues that we have. And I say, well, let me break this down and see why I am here. And what can I do about those things? What can I do to change? And
Yeah.
once you make that commitment to yourself, you change. And you don't stay stuck on those issues. I'm not saying that because you're supposed to just bring yourself down to a certain spot and say, this is just horrible. Because you have to do those affirmations. You got to find that balance. So when I say, you know what, I'm not very good at communicating, but I know how to love somebody so I can actually fix my communication. I said, I am good at communicating and I'm going to get better than that. I am.
Yeah.
It's like, you know what? You haven't had these good relationships, but you got 2 dope relationships over here, and y'all be having a good time. So while you're working on those things that you do not quite like about yourself, you still love yourself through it. You see yourself through.
I like that. I like how you said that. You said, while you don't love yourself about these certain things, as you're working on them, still love yourself through it. It's like, because it's a process. And as you're going through the process, you still need to love yourself. And that's where we have the self-compassion. That's where the self-compassion comes into play.
You have
Girl,
to.
that is
You have to.
so
Because like I said,
good.
life gonna beat you up. Other people gonna say, oh, well, you're not that good at this. So once you become aware of it, you don't let
Yeah.
that hold you back.
Yeah. And I think that's some of the things, I think that's some of the things that get a lot of people, is because they will become aware. They will see the problem,
Oh
know
yeah.
it's a problem. And like you said, they'll go, okay, problem. And they'll go the other way because they don't want to deal with it, because that problem is associated to some hurt that they've been through, some trauma that they've had, some shame, some rejection. And so I don't want to explore those feelings, or I don't want to explore that situation, because it's going to bring up some feelings or some things or some emotions that I don't want to feel.
Right.
So because I don't want to deal with this, deuces, I'ma holler at y'all. This version of me gonna stay right there, and I'm gonna be what? Stuck, like you said.
Yeah. I'm going to be comfortable where I am. Like, I'm not going to show no room for growth, but I'm going to be upset with myself from time to time because I don't like this about myself, but I'm not willing to change it right now. So it's like, you sure you don't like it about yourself? Because if you didn't like it, you change it, right?
Yeah.
Like, you got to convince yourself, look, I don't like this enough to do something about it. Because if you're not, then I tell people, I say, you must like it.
What'd you say?
Look.
Something about it you like.
It's something about it that you like. Because you choosing to stay there at this point. You like it there. You sure you don't like it there? Because if not, like, you know what you need to do. You need to change. Because, I even have my friends and people in my life, to a certain point, it's like, I'm going to be your listening ear. By the third time that you come to me with the same situation, it's like, well, did you do what we talked about? Did you work on it? So are you in this situation because the situation is occurring to you, or are you actually placing yourself there?
Like, wait a minute. Back up. Hold on, y'all. You ain't finna drop that gem and just run to something else. Wait a minute. Pump the brakes. Hold up. Did you just say, is this happening to you because you placed yourself there? Talk about that. Talk about that.
So, like I said, with the experience that I had, I put myself in a situation I did not have to be in.
Mm.
There are some situations where it's like, you know what, you can't get out to the extent that you actually want to, but that don't mean
Mhm.
there's nothing that you could do about it. That does not make you
Mm.
powerless. That does not mean you cannot change your perspective. Some situations we're in because we chose to leave ourselves in that rut that we were in. And you leave yourself in that rut not by just, okay, if you can't change the situation, you deciding to be mad and angry and hurt about it. So if you
Mm.
can't change it, change your perspective. So you know what? This ain't the best, but
Yeah.
it's okay. I love
Yeah.
myself because of this. So if you're not going to change that situation, don't keep slamming it in in your situation saying, "Oh, this is so horrible," because it can't be too horrible. If that's going to be the case, if you're going to stay where you are,
Mhm.
then change your perspective.
Ooh.
Because at that point you're in that situation because you decided that you did not want to change.
That part. That part right there. Like you're in this situation because you decided, because it's a choice.
Mm-hmm.
You decided that you didn't want to change. Because again, you didn't want to go through, you didn't want to explore those feelings of shame, rejection,
Mm-hmm.
guilt, embarrassment, or whatever it was, whatever traumatic experience it was, because you don't want to go through the process of healing. Because one thing I've known is that healing is not, it's not a cute process.
Mm-mm.
It ain't cute, it ain't cuddly. It, if you want to go through a true healing, is you gonna have to get dirty.
You gonna have to, because I mean, if not, then what you gonna do? Like, it's like, tell me what you gonna do.
Yeah, exactly.
Something that I always tell people, like, I love metaphors, I love analogies.
Go ahead.
And so my brother, he was staying in California,
Mm-hmm.
and we talked a lot about the fires and stuff like that. And they have this thing where they actually have controlled fires.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Oh,
And
girl.
so they have controlled fires. And you know, when you think of fire, most people think of something that's harmful. They think of
Mm-hmm.
something that's bad. When in all, fire is a natural phenomenon. So they started saying, hey, well, you know what? We seen that when this fire actually happened, it actually had some good things that came out of it. Like, so they started to have a controlled fire, because what it did was it cleared all the dead material and allowed the healthy parts of the system to survive and to flourish. And so sometimes we have to set a controlled fire. Dealing with that trauma is that controlled fire. It's like, okay, well, you know what? Once I get through this part, you know, it might hurt a little bit, but the result that I'm looking for is going to allow that dead weight to fall off for me. It's
Oh.
going to allow those things that I have deep down, those real journeys and those real goals that I have for myself, they going to flourish because I've allowed them room to grow.
Yeah.
So sometimes you just got to set stuff on fire.
Y'all, okay. Now, I'm just gonna put this out here. Now, she said sometimes you gotta set stuff on fire. I don't think she don't mean literally. Don't y'all go around and set that boy house on fire because he done left y'all and he with that girl. Don't y'all set that girl, not them.
Please don't set it on fire.
No.
That's gonna be a situation you put yourself in.
Right? Talk about it. That's a situation you put yourself in, and you can come out that situation. So, but like you said, sometimes you have to set a fire so you can remove the deadness, get
Mhm.
rid of the dead weight, so you can get down to the good stuff, to the nutrients that's down on the inside. Girl.
Right, right. You don't see fire when you at hibachi grill and say, "Oh, this is about to be horrible." You be like, "Oh, they preparing my food." Like, so when you have to, it's all about perspective. I'm telling you. So you
Girl.
saying, you know what? Once I go through this fire, it's preparing me just as much as your food, just as much as that controlled fire is preparing it for a healthy flourish. It's no different.
Mm.
Sometimes you need it. I mean, I'm not a big science person, but even if you think about caterpillars, for example. There's
Come
one
on
called
now.
a corner. And what it actually does is it feeds out this plant called a lupine. Correct me if I'm wrong, but y'all probably don't know what I'm talking about. But the thing is, lupines grow from the fire, that the controlled fire that I'm talking about. That's
Yeah.
what they grow from. So without that lupine, the caterpillar wouldn't have the nourishment, whatever it needs to survive. Without
Yeah.
that survival, it won't become a butterfly. So therefore, you have to go through the stages. You got to go a little bit through that fire. And once you get there, you're like, okay, I'm prepared now.
Yeah.
I'm making these adjustments. I'm transforming. I'm about to be beautiful. I'm about to be made new. I'm about to be a whole different person.
Mm,
So everything works accordingly in itself. You have to have your perspective that, you know what, if this is going to happen, if I'm in
mhm.
it, I'm going to make the best of it.
Yeah. I know that's right. What it say? If I'm in it, I'm gonna be in it to win it.
Oh, yeah, completely. 10
Mm-hmm.
toes down.
He said 10 toes down, y'all. 10 toes.
Because you can't be halfway. You can't be halfway. You either in or you out.
You got to be fully planted, y'all.
Fully
Look,
planted.
fully planted, hold it steady. Because you got to be in this thing. So you're going to be in it to win it, or you're going to be stuck in the same situation where you was at. Oh my God, that was so good. Okay. Community, community, community. Oh my goodness, community. I don't know if y'all have any questions for Miss Jasmine, but please send your questions. I know she is dropping some good word, but if you do have any questions about her steps that she took for her self-acceptance, also, I want y'all to know that you can definitely follow her on Instagram. You can follow her on her social media handles. Also, look up her website. Miss Jasmine, give them a little bit about your website, your company that you have, because you dropping them. I need to find you. I want the community, the conversation community, I want them to be able to find you.
So I just recently started my business this year, and it's Royal Elevation. So you can go
Okay.
to www.royalelevation.org, and that's mainly with my career, but it's all about self-elevation. It's all about
Mm,
what you need to do to empower yourself and to grow. And so while I focus mainly on the social work aspect and I help people as far as with preparation for their exams, I'm there just for, a word of comfort. I'm
mhm,
there just so you can find the way that you need to do to elevate yourself. So I
mhm.
drop quotes, I drop little gems there. So you can be a
Yes.
better version of yourself. So
Yes.
definitely follow me on my Instagram and follow me on my Facebook page at Royal Elevation, and go to my website and check it out at www.royalelevation.org.
Yes. Thank you so much. Oh my goodness, y'all. So, like I said, she awesome. Miss Jasmine has been awesome. She has been hitting it. She has been doing her thing, y'all. It just has been so amazing. If you have been blessed by what she has said tonight, like, show her some love up in the chat. Show her some love, community. Show her some love. Show her some love, because she has told us tonight that, one, we got to change our perspective. Two, what she told us, to no matter what you're going through, you got to keep it real with yourself. You
Mm-hmm.
got to be truthful with yourself. You cannot hide what the truth is. You can't hide the facts. So you got to keep it real with yourself. Something else she told us that she did was she had a contract with herself. She made a contract with herself, something to help hold her accountable. It was an accountability contract that she had, that she gave herself her affirmations. She told herself she's gonna keep it real with herself to help get her through. And then she told us also that she seeked help, from other places, her support system. And we all need to have a support system. When we just need a support system, period, whether we're going through something or not. But just having that support system. And you know what? Looking for the help does not mean that you're hopeless, that you're helpless, that you're weak. You can
Mm-hmm.
still gain help on the outside. Like, she was just dropping so much, y'all. But she was like, she also had to change her perspective, change her position. And then also she told us that you have the power to move yourself from whatever situation that you're in. And
Mm-hmm.
if you don't move, it's because you chose not to move, not because you weren't able to, because you chose not to move. So, what type of mindset do you want to have? Do you want to stay in the mindset of lack, of scarcity, or do you want the mindset of abundance?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, she done told you tonight what you need to do. She done told you the steps she took. As you see the steps work, she is the steps work. So it's like, what do you want to do? Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Like this was just so awesome. And I just want to say thank you so much
Of course.
for coming on the conversation, coming on the show, gracing us with your presence and dropping these gems. She was dropping these gems like y'all, like it was nothing. She was like, oh, gem here, gem there. Oh, here's a gem. Oh, you want a gem? You get a gem. You get a gem. You get a gem. Like she was just
Y'all get
dropping these gems. Everybody gets a gem, right?
we got a little treasure here already.
Right. But and we just had such a good time. Like it was just so awesome, so phenomenal. So definitely look her up, follow her, support her, do whatever you have to do, but definitely get this word. Hit the replay. If you're on the replay, hashtag replay. Like I said again, share the link, share this conversation because somebody that was not here may needed to hear this. So definitely get the word out and share it. And so we're going to get the last word is going to go to, oh, and of course, the conversation is here every Wednesday. So if it is on Wednesday, you want to come on in, you can come every Wednesday. We having a conversation again where I bring you a guest, somebody who is going to be real, who is going to be relatable, and who is definitely going to talk what is going on. And they're going to have to be relevant because I'm not going to bring you something or bring you someone that is not going to be real and relatable. I want you to be able to see yourself or see your situation in them and so they can help you because what we're doing is we're dismantling this this negativity. We are breaking down strongholds. We are implementing healing and we are giving awareness to the community and to people. This is what we do. So the conversation, what Jasmine gave was a clear example of why the conversation was created. And it was created so people could be real, so they can share their journey and share their process.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of times, like she said earlier, people don't want to talk about the process. But we got to talk about the process. We got to talk about how ugly the process was. Why? Because your process is going to help somebody else get through their process.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say that again because your process is going to help somebody else get through their process. So again, to join the conversation community, like it, share it, hey, and make some comments. Once you do that, you are part of the conversation community. We are bound, y'all. We are bound. So thank y'all for coming. The last word, Miss Jasmine. Is there anything that you want to give to the community before we go?
I just want to simplify to me everything we talked about because you know how we are. We like things to be broken down and say the steps to self-acceptance. You have to be actual. You have to be aware. You have to adjust and you have to affirm. If you don't remember everything I said, actual, aware, adjust, affirm. Those are the steps. Remind yourself throughout the journey of whatever you're going through. If you're in the middle of it, keep pushing. You are dope, you are loved, and you will get through.
Yeah. Oh, awesome in the mix. She just hit y'all again. I told y'all. You get a gem. You get a gem. You get a gem. Everybody give a gem. She just dropping these gems. So again, y'all, I will see y'all same place, same time next week. We'll have the conversation. I have another awesome guest for you that's going to tell you about the process to help you get through. Again, you know, hey, one thing about it, I tell y'all all the time, show the world who you are and don't allow the world to tell you who you are. Because if you do, then they're going to dictate to you how you're supposed to show up. And this is your life. You have the choice. So you show the world who you are. and don't allow the world to show you or tell you who you are. Until next time, I'll see y'all next week. And look, I feel a little 90s coming on.